in all honesty, like I don't think the super cycle thesis is actually going to play out. I think what will end up happening is like we'll just have standard cycles, whereas like recall that like a standard cycle again for this time around would be like if Bitcoin hit like $2 million a coin like in the next 2 years, and I think we'll see that ongoing because the other one is like I'm not so concerned about like Bitcoin's price point as much as I am like in 2030, what does $50 mean? Like what's a gallon of milk cost? What's a carton of eggs cost? And like particularly with Trump, because like if I'm going to take a shot in the dark from what I see is like it looks like Trump's going to tariff the shit out of all the other countries. That he's going to essentially force Jerome Powell to cut rates like dramatically, that he wants to accelerate inflation, so that we will have 40, 50, 80, 100% inflation, and that now allows for us to actually pay back the US debt in a meaningful way. It's going to destroy middle class savings, but if you have the United States government encouraging people to pile on to an asset like Bitcoin at the same time, I think that there's like a meaningful shot that you can go to a highly inflationary environment and not absolutely fuck the shit out of the middle class. But the only way that that's going to happen is if people are thoughtful enough to help themselves in this situation and realize that, as John Maynard Keynes told us in his economic theory, in his general theory of unemployment, like money should not be used as a storage of value. In fact, like only an insane person would see it as a storage of value. And so like we need to return to that like people really need to understand that the dollar is supposed to be a medium of payment. It is not supposed to be a storage of value. And I think that that's the direction we'll go. And if we go into that highly inflationary environment, it makes sense to me. We get pretty quickly a $10 million Bitcoin, but it also means a $50 gallon of milk and a $70 carton of eggs, which like we're not far off from that. Like I was explaining to my son, I was like, yeah, when I was a kid, a gallon of milk was $2.99. He was like, whoa. He was like, no way. I was like, yeah. And while it's scary, I think again, I don't know. I find it pretty extraordinary how absolutely irresponsible people are with like not understanding finance. They're like, oh, like that's, I don't know about economics, man. And it's like, well, you use money though, right? And I'm like, well, of course, yeah. And it's like, so like it obviously affects you and is involved in your life. Like, don't you think you have some responsibility to like getting how that works? But, as I always say, it's like, for me, this is really difficult because like there's been people that I've been going to for a decade trying to explain this stuff to them and they haven't listened to me. They're in the same position, if not worse off than when I first came to them. They've seen how much of a difference it's made in my life. And I would just expect at some point that they would be like, hey, like you seem to have really changed your life and like made things different from yourself. And like this Bitcoin thing seems to have helped you a lot. Like, could you explain it to me? Like, it's happened very rarely. And again, it just sort of returns to the point of that I feel very strongly that the vast majority of people are not interested in trying to help themselves, but are interested. And like, this is a product from that education system, is that like, it's really broken a lot of people in a way that like they can't think for themselves or help themselves because they've been taught learned helplessness. And they're like, look, like it's been a long day, like I just want to turn on the TV and like relax for a bit. And it's like, well, maybe that's part of the problem. Like maybe that's why you're still in the same circumstances you were in a decade ago, is because instead of you getting home from work and being like, man, like that was awful, like I really hate that and I don't want to keep doing that, I'm going to study a bit and figure out how to get myself out of these circumstances. You just sort of collapse into that. And it's unfortunate, but it's a choice that a lot of people make.
Yeah, it's like you said, that learned helplessness. It's school, government run schools for decades teaching people that it's just true or false. Like life is just binary outcomes, just true or false. It's black and white. It's, pick something on the Scantron, and it's just like, that's not how life works. It's holding opposite ideas in your head at the same time a lot of times. And there's gray areas. And that's something that you can't get that from government schools, and it makes me think of this, where I go back to like, I've been in spaces in the last few years, or even just back and forth on Twitter, like with George Gammon, for example. It's just someone I always come back to and have kind of fought with or debated with over time. And his big thing is like, I get Bitcoin, all these things, and him and Jeff Booth have these debates, and it's like, yeah, like we're on the same page. I don't think you need to educate these people though, because at some point it'll just fall right back into the same thing, which I agree that you need to educate people, and you just alluded to that earlier. We're talking about this right now, and that's why we're doing what we're doing. We could just be off with our kids right now or doing whatever else, but we're called and pulled to do this, to educate people. But it's like, George, at some point you have to remove the funding mechanism from the state, because we're it's the matrix, and we all are in the pods right now, and they're sucking the energy, the life force out of everyone right now to out propagandize you, to out educate you through the government run schooling apparatus and the media. Now we know it's going to Politico, it's going to these other areas. You can't outrun that. It's a speeding. It's like, hey, George, go swim up the full Nile River. You'll kill yourself trying. And like, that's the game we're in. You have to remove money from state in order to get this done and to educate people.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't expect folks like George to get it. And that's why I'm going to be like, look, like me and my people, we insist on that, like, we're just not going to participate in that system. We're going to put all of our time, energy, and wealth into this other system. And because of the way that your system is built, like, it will inherently inflate to infinity. Like, that's how it's designed. Meanwhile, this other system will continue to accrue wealth. And furthermore, because you have positioned your system as a storage of value, as is ours, we're going to compete on that level. And because we have a fundamentally superior product, that's going to become very, very difficult for you guys to actually compete against. So again, into the free market, we can do that. But also, like, I think one of the other really important things is that, like, this is just a really powerful tool for freedom and really represents, like, what true American values are. And again, at the end of the day, like, I believe in the agency of humanity and what it means to do that and allow for people to make the choice about who they want to be, how they want to exist, who they want to interact with. And like, the USD system does not provide or support that. In fact, it seems to do quite the opposite of saying we're going to give all of our power to the government. We're going to allow for the government to choose the winners and the losers. We're going to allow for them to choose what the interest rate is and who we fund and finance, and who will also cut off and take the ability away for them to actually engage in banking relationships. So, and again, like, this is sort of the beauty of the whole thing is, like, I'm not out here being like, suppress the, you know, the retards in the XRP army or USDT. It's like, no, we can freely compete with you, and we have a fundamentally superior product versus what you have, like, on a number of levels. So like, yeah, if you want to compete in that way, let's do it. You know, like, it's kind of interesting because, like, the XRP thing, like, because they don't have mining or any way to support themselves outside of proof of stake, like, I don't see any, like, very real world innovative capacity that it allows for it to change. Like, if you look at what some of the developments that people are doing with creating, like, new mining projects that are based off of either geothermal or hydro mining, like specifically hydro mining in sub-Saharan Africa, like, it's incredible. They're like bringing electricity to villages that have, like, never had it before. And like, this isn't some fun NGO powwow project. Like, this is, like, these guys make, I've seen the books for some of these guys. Like, they make such good money right now that when they do approach VC financing, the VCs are like, what's wrong here? Like, your numbers are too good. Like, why are you making this much money? And it's because they're doing something that's truly innovative, you know? And like, it turns out that giving power for somebody to be able to run a washing machine in sub-Saharan Africa, where they used to have to walk 4 hours each way each day, is like something that they're ready and happy to pay for, that actively improves their life, because now they can actually spend a whole nother day of the week actively farming in this rural part of Africa. Yeah, like, I see the innovation across the board in really powerful and interesting ways that frankly is exciting and is really going to augment the way that society develops. And I hope that America is going to get on board with that, because like, this is our one shot to spread these values to the rest of the world, particularly against something like the Chinese panopticon that's ever expanding right now.
If you like that clip, then you definitely got to check out this next spicy clip. I think you're really going to like it. Come on, check it out. But if you want the full version, the full interview, then check that out over here. Come on, do it. I'll see you in there.